Hey guys, my name is Sujana Srinivasan and I'm with Interns for Good. And today we're going to be doing an introduction to macromolecules, as well as good nutrition. So in this lesson, you will be learning about eating healthy and you're going to be learning about 4 basic macromolecules. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to classify the basic macromolecules, identify different macromolecules by their general structure, learn their basic functions, and learn about their health impacts. So what are the different types of macromolecules? There are carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, as well as nucleic acids. So let's start with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are basically sugars. These can dissolve in water and are found in most of the foods that we eat every day. So the atoms found in carbs are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and these are all atoms that are essential to life. Most carbs are made up of multiple subunits, and subunit is just another word for like part, and these are called polysaccharides. Some carbs only have one part, and they're called monosaccharides, and some have two, disaccharides. So some examples. The function of carbohydrates is to supply and store energy for the human body. And the most common carb is glucose, which is a basic sugar. All of the carbohydrates that are in our food are broken down into glucose, which is then used by our cells as energy. Structurally, glucose looks like a hexagon with the ring of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms, which you can see in this picture. Common types of molecules made with glucose are cellulose, starch, and glycogen, which are used by plants and animals for energy and structural support. The main thing to remember here is that glucose makes energy. But remember that too much sugar is bad for you, so make sure to have it moderately. Just because glucose is energy doesn't mean that you should eat a lot of it. So here are some helpful videos that I thought would help you guys learn more about this topic. So the first one is about which carb-filled foods you should watch out for. And the second one is more about the science behind carbs and their health impacts. So now we're going to do some lipids. Lipids are fats and steroids. They are very similar to carbohydrates in that they are also made up of carbon, hydrogen, and some oxygen atoms, and they also help to store energy. However, lipids are generally unhealthy and, unlike carbohydrates, cannot dissolve in water. They are also found in lots of the foods that we eat. So some functions of lipids. They are mainly used in long-term energy storage, but can also be used for things like structure, insulation, protection, and signaling. They are also a very important part of the cell membrane. So, an important thing to remember here is that there are good and bad fats. Bad fats are also known as saturated fats or trans fats, and these fats have like a straight line structure, which you can see in the picture to the right. Good fats are called cis-unsaturated fats, and they have a bent structure. So if you look at these two pictures, you can tell which ones are bad and good. And if you want to learn more about fats, you can check out the cool video linked at the top. So this is a really good chart that shows the difference between carbohydrates and lipids. So carbohydrates are easily digested and soluble in water, like I said. They are used in short-term energy storage, and they're stored as glycogen and starch. Lipids have lots more energy than carbohydrates in each individual unit, but they're harder to break down. They are nonpolar, which means that they cannot dissolve in water. They are used in long-term energy storage and stored as fat in animals. So a nice way to think about carbs and lipids is with a bank analogy. So if you are paid in cash, think of the cash as glucose. You can either spend the glucose through cellular respiration or put it in your wallet. And when you put it in your wallet, that's like putting glucose into glycogen. And that makes it easy to get to, but it would be too big if you put in all of your money. So if you put all of your glucose into glycogen, it's going to be too much. The other alternative for your money is to deposit it in the bank. You can put a lot of money here, but it's really hard to get it back out. It takes more work. So if you were to turn all of your glucose into fat, it would be too much work for your body to access that energy. Now, we're going to move on to proteins. So some basic information about proteins is that they are made up of multiple amino acids and are again found in our food. Proteins have many different structures, and so they have lots of different functions like structure, storage, defense, transport, and more. What you need to remember here is that the structure of a protein is what determines its function. So there are 4 levels of protein structure. Primary structure is the amino acid sequence that will eventually turn into the full protein. Secondary structure is the twisting of the protein, and when you twist the amino acid sequence, you form either alpha helices or beta pleats. Tertiary structure is the folding of the protein, and a protein can be folded into either fibrous, which is a straighter, or globular, which means rounder. Those are the 2 shapes. Quaternary structure is that multiple subunits or pieces make up the full protein. So over here to the right is a better way to think about it. So your primary structure, your amino acids, can be thought of as alphabets. You turn those alphabets into words by putting them together. That is how amino acid sequences turn into secondary structure, with the pleated sheets and the alpha helices. You put words together to form sentences. Similarly, the alpha helices and beta sheets are folded to turn into tertiary structure, either a fibrous or globular shape. Lastly, multiple sentences form a paragraph. Multiple folded proteins form the full protein in the end, making quaternary structure. Enzymes are a special type of protein. They help with chemical reactions in the body and essentially speed them up. They are very important to us because they help us carry out life processes. So more videos. If you want to learn about which protein-filled foods you should eat and why our bodies need protein, watch the first video. If you want to learn about the different functions of proteins, click on the second link to watch the second video. Lastly, let's talk about nucleic acids. So you might know them better as DNA and RNA. These are the 2 nucleic acids found in our bodies. DNA is very important because it carries our genetic information. This is what gives you traits and features passed down from your parents, grandparents, and all of your ancestors. DNA and RNA are both very important because they help make proteins, which, as you know, are also really important to our bodies. So both DNA and RNA have the same basic structure. They have 3 parts: a phosphate group, a sugar, and a nitrogenous base. Together, these 3 parts make up what is called a nucleotide. DNA has 2 strands, while RNA has 1. They both form a spiral-like shape, which is called a helix. If you look at this picture, you can see that RNA forms the same shape as DNA, except RNA has 1 strand and DNA has 2. They also have 2 different types of sugars. RNA is known as ribonucleic acid. This is because its sugar is called ribose. DNA has the sugar deoxyribose, which is why it's called deoxyribonucleic acid. If you want to go deeper into the structure and function of nucleic acids, watch the video linked below. Lastly, I have some more resources for you guys to further your learning. First, we have a game. Sort the foods into different categories. This will help you practice good nutrition by organizing different foods by their macromolecule content. Second, I have a worksheet. This is for more advanced students, so if you feel like you want to try some more advanced practice, print out the worksheet and complete the chart by cutting and pasting the boxes that are under it. This will help you better understand what you just learned. And remember, I linked quite a few helpful videos throughout this presentation. I really like those videos because they really help me learn more about this topic. So if you want to learn more about specific macromolecules, make sure to go check them out. Alright, that's all I have today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something. Bye!